Hey, you guys! Happy Thursday. I don't know about you guys. I'm looking out the window right now and it is so bright. I'm in Gilbert, Arizona, so it's hard to believe that it's almost dinner time. It looks like it's the afternoon. But yes, I noticed that it's almost dinner time. I usually do these calls at or live streams at 3 p.m. Pacific, but today I was actually doing a presentation for an HR group that is looking to transition into HR. So I appreciate you guys being here with me at this time. Let me know that you guys are here, whether you're catching this live or you're watching the replay. I always tell people if you are watching the replay, answer my questions just as if you were catching it live because you can get just as much value out of it. Awesome. Hello, Wong. Hi, Alexander. Nice to see you guys. Today, I'm going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I know all of us job seekers face this one thing, which is rejection. And oftentimes we look at that as such a negative that is almost like this thing to be ashamed of, or we feel like so much like discouragement behind that and just a lot of like catabolic energy. But I want to share that you absolutely can. And the ultimate like enlightenment would be actually to like embrace rejection when it comes to your job search. And I definitely want to break that down and why that's so important, and also give you some tips to help you start reframing the rejections. Because let me tell you, it's expected. And I was telling to the HR group today, if you are making a career transition and you're going into it without setting expectations that you're going to get rejected, you're going to set yourself up for a lot of disappointment. And the reason being is because the recruiting process and the recruiting cycle is so subjective. There are so many things outside of your control. And I think that's important to recognize and remember because we could be showing up, giving it our all. We can be putting our best foot forward. We can be doing everything to the books, like doing everything absolutely right. We're 100% worthy. And still not get the job offer because there's just so much behind the scenes that's happening that we have no control or idea of. And the more that we can recognize this, the more empowered we can show up in moving forward and ultimately landing to where we actually want to be and need to be in our careers. So, we're going to dive into all of that. Let me know, by the way, if you need to like hear this message today, like say me. If you have a friend that has been discouraged in their job search, please tag them. I think that this is such an important topic that isn't talked about enough. Before we dive in, though, I wanted to let you guys know in just 4 days, we are starting our 5-day dream job challenge on Monday, June 7. I am so excited about it. I just looked and we have thousands of registrants already, and it's just going to be so much fun and enlightening. I'm going to basically walk you for 5 days through some mini training series that I have already started preparing for, that's going to be actionable and insightful and just give you what you need step by step through the process of job searching. I'm going to go ahead and link it here in case you guys want to send this over. And nice to see you, Hillary. Awesome. I'm so glad you guys are catching me. Okay, cool. So let me talk to you guys really quick about the rejections and why so many of us, at least why I believe so many of us, put such a negative connotation to it. And I really believe this stems from our childhood and the way that our education system is created. You know, growing up, at least, I was always pressed to get straight A's. Like if I brought home a B, my parents would like reprimand me. They'd be like, "What is wrong with you?" Right? And so, as we like went through the traditional education systems, we were really like praised anytime we got a 90% and above, right? Like anything that was like a C and below, like even an F, literally like you got this letter grade that says you failed. And so it's no wonder that, in a society where we really praise people to get like a certain accolade or a certain achievement or a certain grade or score on a test, all of these like 16 plus years, that we would be like so avoidant of having anything lesser than, right? But I want to share that at the surface, rejection really doesn't mean anything. Like rejection is quite neutral, actually, but it's the meaning that we assign to being rejecting or to be rejected. So it's the meaning behind being rejected that is what hurts us, right? So rejection on its surface, at face value, really doesn't mean anything. You got rejected, cool. Like I could look at that objectively and just be like, okay, they went with another candidate. But it's what you assign it to mean that really hurts. And so I want to check in with you guys. If you're catching the replay, type this in. If you're here live with me right now, type in what it means when you get rejected. And what I mean by this is, what do you assign the meaning about you to be true when you get rejected? So take a moment and just kind of share, like, when you get rejected, what thought comes up? What meaning do you assign that? Oh, good one, Hillary. I'm not competent, right? I must be incompetent that they chose another candidate. I see a lot of people believe that I'm not articulate. I'm not enough. Yeah, Vanessa says I wasn't enough. Erin says, "Oh my gosh, I failed again." Like, I'm a failure, right? Those are the meanings that we assign to it. And at the same time, when you are buying into this belief that I'm not enough, or I'm not competent, or I'm not qualified enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not good enough, I'm not creative enough, I'm not articulate enough, what does that do to us, right? Like we stop showing up as our best selves, right? Because who we are determines what kind of results we get. So if at an identity level, we're saying who we are is a failure, who we are isn't good enough. You know, you tell a C student that they're just average, how do you think they grow up later in life? Right? They're going to start saying, like, well, I didn't get good grades, or I didn't really go for that. That's too ambitious. I'm just average. So it's really, really important to make sure that as you're going through this process of job searching, you're not taking it to mean anything about you, but instead you're looking at it from an objective lens. And this is really where we have to step away from the traditional education system that we were like raised to view the world out of, and start to step into a growth mindset. So, fixed mindset is just believing that there's no way to improve, there's no way to create better results because what we have is just fixed, right? Like, this is how it is, this is the way that I am, this is just like what I'm gonna get. I should stop like dreaming and achieving because this is just how it is. Whereas with a growth mindset, you're actually embracing rejections because you know that the more you put yourself out there, you're going to get rejected. You're going to have failures. You're going to have no's come up. And that's okay because that's all part of the course. And when you have a healthy growth mindset, you don't take any of this to mean anything about you other than there's room to improve. There's a lesson there. There's a possibility and opportunity. That's what I'm stepping into and growing into. And when you can operate from this level, this is really where all of the opportunities start to emerge because as you start to get no's, you're also going to open yourself up to yeses. And I'll share that I have some job seekers that I work with that are just so traumatized from the past. And I always like to ask, like, just because it happened in the past, why does it have to happen again? What can you do differently so that you don't keep getting the same results? Right. But they're so traumatized by the past that they'll see like a job opportunity, or maybe they'll even get called in for an interview. But they don't even put themselves forward in that process because they've already put this fixed mindset of there's just no way that I'm going to get it. Like, I'm incompetent. I don't know. I just never get the job. So like, why do I even bother? Why do I even try? Right. And in that case, it's not so much like you need to keep doing the same thing over and over. I I would really question like how much of your all are you putting into the process? Because if you're putting in your all to into the process and you're not getting the offer letter or the interviews that you're looking for, then that's okay. Because again, this is part of your growth journey, and there's going to be yeses along the way when you get a bunch of no's. But if you are self sabotaging, you're just half assing something, or at the very last minute, you decide to put your name in the hat when, you knew about this like for 3 weeks and you could have put in together like the best presentation or the best preparation in place. But now you're just doing it because you're self sabotaging, then that's a different story. So, nice to see you, Ivan. I can definitely relate to that. Yeah, thank you for being honest. A lot of, like, I want to say the majority of people that I work with all have some phase or some level of this creep up. And oftentimes it's coming from a good place. Our ego wants to protect us. Our ego doesn't want us to feel these hurtful, shameful feelings. But again, it's part of your growth journey and your growth evolution. And it really is the best way that you can start to get the results that you want is by embracing these rejections. So, just a few mantras that I live by, because every single day I put myself out for rejection. I'm like posting things left and right on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You guys see me. And, I get hurtful comments, but that's okay because I know for like every one hurtful comment, I have wonderful people like you who are like appreciating what it is that I'm putting out. And so I don't take that negative comment to mean anything other than, okay, like this person is just not right for me, and that's okay. So I want to share that one of my favorite mantras really is rejection is redirection. And what I mean by this is I often have clients who come to me and they say, Emily, I have my dream job. I got an interview. I'm so like excited. I hope I get the offer letter. And then when they don't get the offer letter, they're bummed. And again, they take it to mean something about them. Like they must have not done something right. They're not worthy. They didn't show up a certain way. When in fact, it could have just been that they decided to go with an internal hire, or the president like has a nephew that needed the job. Like we've heard of nepotism in the workplace. So, you know, what's interesting though is the weeks will progress. Sometimes the months will progress, and then they'll reach out to me and they'll say something like, wow, I'm so happy that I didn't get that last opportunity because my true dream job just showed up. And like, I wouldn't have opened myself up to this had I taken the other position. But also, they look at it as like every single step, every single milestone in their job search has prepared them for the ultimate thing that they're meant for. Like, we don't know, the universe is so expansive. We can't control like the when, the where, the how things are going to come about. All we can control is the what do we want? Why do we want it? Right? Everything else is kind of like magical assistance in the background that just unfolds. But you have to trust that everything that you're doing, all of the rejections are that you're collecting, you're positioning yourself for that next opportunity that really counts. The one that, you don't, and the way I like to think about it is sometimes when you're just starting up your job search again, you might be so nervous going into that first interview. You might forget, like, oh my gosh, I can't remember that, like, example to share from like 5 years ago, or I can't really remember like what I did in this last position. But then you go into the next interview and the next interview, and you feel more and more confident and more prepared. So even though you're getting rejected initially, it's arming you with what it is you need to ace that next interview that again is perfectly aligned for you. And when I say ace, I don't mean that you like presented flawlessly. You didn't like have any stutters, or you didn't like blink out on any questions. It's just you aced it because you showed up your best, you presented your best, and it was a good match to that future employer that you're speaking with. So rejection is redirection is one of my favorite mantras. No's are no big deal. This is one that I tell myself all the time. Every time I do something that's scary, something that's outside of my comfort zone, something that opens me up to potentially being rejected, I just tell myself and remind myself that no's are no big deal. Because again, that's the truth. At a surface level, at an objective level, rejections really don't make a difference. It's what we're assigning it to mean that is what's hurting us, right? And then my favorite, they're all my favorites, I guess, but one of the ones that I love to live by is no just means not yet. And I firmly believe this. Your current state is never your permanent state, right? Everything is just temporary. All we have is the here and the now. So no just means not yet. Again, you have to envision like this was a no today. So that means it's opening up another door for me. Another path has just unfolded itself. So if you guys are really feeling discouraged in your job search, one thing that I want to emphasize is I want you to celebrate each milestone along the way. And milestones can be broken down into like little subtasks or little like just the next step of your journey. So you guys in the Happily Hired programs know I have 7 C's that you need to follow. Within each of those 7 C's, there's like each of the modules, there's like all of these different lessons that are in those modules, right? And each of those are a step. So for instance, instead of celebrating that final offer letter, like I need to get this offer letter and this start date to finally celebrate my success, I want you to break down each little step. You know, today I updated my profile, my resume, my LinkedIn profile. Wow, like that's huge. Today I got clarity. That's even huger, right? But these are things that we don't really celebrate. Today I got an interview. Today I prepared for my interview. When you can celebrate these little milestones and acknowledge yourself for how far you've come along, you're going to keep the momentum up in your job search, and you're also not going to be fazed by these rejections and give it more power than it deserves. And let me just double check. The final thing that I just want to share is that you want to look at everything as a new skill and something to be learned, right? There's always a lesson. So that again goes back to the growth mindset. It's not so much I went on this interview, it went terrible, I'm a bad interviewer. I'm terrible at talking about myself, right? A lot of us go there. We say, I'm so nervous. I'm such a like basket case when it comes to talking about myself. But instead, really looking at it as what can I take away from this? If this is really serving me, regardless of being attached to the outcome, how can I take this lesson and apply it for my next opportunity? And the more you can start thinking about that versus thinking that, this is all doomed. This is how it is. This is my case. Woe is me. And we kind of fall into that victim mentality. The further along you're going to go and the faster you're going to be able to land your dream job. So you just want to leave you with, it's 100% possible. I know this because I've seen people, my clients and my job seekers who've come to me feeling completely discouraged, feeling like there's no way that I can land my dream job. Everybody else can land a dream job but me, to being able to share that they landed their dream job. And again, it's not like this really easy, smooth path. It's always a roller coaster, I think I've only had 2 clients who like joined the program and they were like, yes, went after my job. Yes, got an interview. Yes, got an offer within like a month. It's not that simple. And I want to share that because I know it could feel like it's this never ending journey without a light at the end of the tunnel, but I promise you there is one. Let me check in with you guys. And while I bring up your guys' comments. I just want to again remind you guys, let me know in the chat, by the way, if you're signed up for the 5-day challenge. And more importantly, if you're as excited about the 5-day challenge as I am. It's like literally been the only thing on my mind. All right, let me see what you guys have here. And you guys know that I love leaving you guys with a takeaway. So I want to ask you guys to chime in. What is your biggest takeaway here? Or what do you want to apply out of what I just shared with you today? I love challenging people to not just like sit there and consume content and take in information, but really asking like, okay, what can I do differently with this? Or do I need to change anything? You might already be practicing all of this, and that's great. If there's a takeaway for you in here still, I always like to ask, what else is here for me? So let me see here. Vanessa asked, how do you know if the rejection is go do more work versus I'm amazing, I'll just try again? Yeah, Vanessa, great question. For me, I like to look at, so this is really where I always ask clients to tap into their intuition and their heart and ask themselves, like, not from a logical standpoint, because sometimes we're our worst inner critics and we're our harshest critics. So, just from a gut level and heart level, if you were to look at yourself and the way that you showed up, intuitively, do you feel like you gave it your all? And, if your answer is honestly yes, like I gave it my all and this maybe just wasn't aligned, then that's the perfect answer. But if you're looking at it like, oh, yeah, like I guess I could have showed up differently this way, or next time I want to do this, then you know that all it is just room for opportunity and a lesson learned to take into the future. Great question. So Orchidee, or I hope I didn't mispronounce that. I had a really bad experience changing jobs, so I'm really fearful of changing again. I really appreciate this. Yeah, that's one question I love to ask. Just because it happened in the past, why does it have to happen again? Right? A lot of us like to live our lives based on assumptions. We like to take past to inform the present. And while that is helpful, it can sometimes be limiting as well, because just because something happened in the past, it doesn't really have to happen again, right? Now you have all of this rich experience of knowing what you need to do differently to vet another opportunity in the future. And then also, if you just logically think about it, no two like managers are identical, no two environments are going to be identical, no two roles are going to be identical. There's so many factors that can go into this where you don't have to get the same result. So just friendly reminder there to keep at it. Okay, great, Vanessa. Working on my growth mindset. Yeah, this is something that is just ongoing. As a coach, I always am minding my own mind, is what I like to call it. It's not like I wake up and I'm like bubbly and optimistic and like, yeah, like the world is my oyster 24/7. I am a human and I have these thoughts too, but I try to manage my own mind as much as possible so that I don't get limited and kind of sucked into feeling the negative energies that hold me back from going after what I know is actually the truth, which is that we're all limitless and we're all filled with abundance and abundant opportunities. Hillary says she's going to gain clarity so that should be gaining clarity is a milestone that should be celebrated. Yes, absolutely, every single step. Arun asks, can over preparing for an interview go the wrong way? So I'll answer this in a way that I do a lot of mock interviews with my clients, and I will share that the only time I think over preparation shoots them in the foot is when they are so robotic and scripted. And it's really fascinating because, when I do a mock interview on Zoom, I always record it so that they can watch themselves back. But before we begin the interview, so before I like transition into like I'm the hiring manager recruiter role play, I'll just chat with them like, hey, Arun, how are you doing? What's up? What's new? how's your week been? And I could like see so much personality come out. They're so conversational, so fun to talk to. And then the minute I'm like, all right, Erin, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I looked over your resume. It looks great. I would love to talk to you more about this position. But first, can you tell me a bit about yourself? Right. So we go into like the interview mode. They completely change character. It's like, I don't even know who I'm talking to anymore sometimes because they're so fixated on like having to show up a certain way or like being polished and presented. I actually had a client who kept going into final round interviews and not getting the offer. And she hired a career coach who told her to like type out every single question and type out her answers and like memorize them. And when I interviewed with her, I was like, whoa, 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 Nicole, you gotta like scrap all of this. Like, you come off too scripted and that comes off as inauthentic. Like, I don't know like what your true answers are, if like I don't know, it just like seemed really inauthentic. So she ended up scrapping it. We had an amazing mock interview. She went into her next interview and she landed the offer. Like, it's good to be prepared and it's good to anticipate what kind of questions and like understand the role, the organization, and understand your background and where you fit in. But it shouldn't be over prepared in the I need to memorize and think about the answer before I'm even listening to the other person, if that makes sense. Cool. All right, you guys, I loved all your questions. In the 5-day challenge, I have a bonus training on like I know it's the 5-day challenge, but it's going to be over 8 days. And on day 8, I'm going to do a live Q&A where you can just ask me anything and we can go into all of the questions on a deeper level. So with that being said, I hope to see you guys all in the challenge. I hope that you guys enjoyed this and you enjoy your weekend ahead. And thanks again for tuning in. It's always such a pleasure to like see your guys' names pop up. And I love all of your guys' energy that you bring. Take care, enjoy, and wishing you guys all the best.